The penthouse had everything except a lock on the inside of Zara's bedroom door. She noticed that the first night, never said anything about it. For 2 years, she lived in luxury she never asked for. He gave her everything, except the one thing that mattered. Then one morning, she saw her. Not in person, just a photo on his desk, beautiful, smiling, wearing a ring. Zara didn't ask questions. She just knew, whatever she was to him, it was ending. So that night, she left. She made it 24 hours. When she walked back into that motel room, he was already there, sitting in the dark like he'd been waiting. "I'm impressed," he said. "Most don't make it past 12. She asked him why. Why come after her? Why not just let her go? He stood up, stepped closer. "Because you don't understand what you are to me yet." But what Zara didn't know, what he'd been hiding from her the entire time, would make her question everything. Stories like this don't come around often. If you want more of them, go ahead and subscribe. Oh, and drop a comment. Where are you watching from? I'm curious who's hearing this story. All right, let's dive in. To understand why Zara ran, you need to understand how she ended up belonging to Kang Min-ho in the first place. Zara was 19 when her life was stolen. She was from London, South London to be specific, a small flat with her mum who worked 2 jobs just to keep them afloat. They weren't rich, but they had each other. Zara had just finished school, had dreams of university. Maybe studying languages, she was good with words, good at understanding people. But university cost money they didn't have. So when she saw the job posting, hospitality work abroad, good pay, room and board included, it seemed like an answer to everything. Her mum had concerns. "Korea is so far," she'd said. "Just 6 months," Zara promised. "Then I'll have enough saved for university." That was the last conversation they'd have for a very long time. Now this is important to understand, because what happened next shaped everything that came after. The job was fake. The company didn't exist. The kind woman who interviewed her in that London hotel was a recruiter for something much darker. Zara landed in Seoul on a Tuesday. There was supposed to be someone from the hotel meeting her. There was someone there, but he didn't take her to any hotel. He took her to a van, then to a building, then to a basement where 4 other girls were already waiting. That's when Zara understood. That's when the reality hit her. She'd been trafficked. For 2 years, Zara lived in that nightmare. Different locations, different rooms, always locked, always watched. She learned to be quiet, learned to be invisible, learned that hope was dangerous because it only made the disappointment hurt more. Her 19th birthday passed, then her 20th, then her 21st. Back in London, her mother never stopped looking, never stopped calling police, embassies, private investigators. But Zara didn't know that, didn't know if anyone was even searching for her anymore. But then everything changed in a single night. Zara was 21 when Kang Min-ho walked into that basement. It was 3 in the morning. She'd been moved there with 4 other girls, a holding location before they were supposed to be transported somewhere else. The door opened, but it wasn't the usual guards. It was him. Kang Min-ho walked in like he owned the place, and maybe he did. Tailored suit, cold eyes, the kind of presence that made everyone in the room go still. "Take them," he said to his men in Korean. The girls started crying. One grabbed Zara's hand, squeezing tight. Zara just watched him, this man who looked at them like he was evaluating merchandise. Then his eyes landed on her specifically. He stepped closer. "You," he said in English, "what's your name?" Zara's voice came out hoarse. "Zara." "Where are you from?" "London." He nodded slowly, something calculating in his expression. Then he switched to Korean. "Do you understand me?" Zara hesitated. Over 2 years, she'd picked up Korean from the other girls, understood more than she let on. "A little," she answered in broken Korean. Something flickered across his face. Interest. "You're coming with me," he said. Now this is where Zara's life split into before and after, because what Min-ho did next, she wouldn't understand for a long time. The other 4 girls were taken by Minho's men, put into a different vehicle. Zara tried to see where they went, but Minho's hand was on her shoulder. Firm, not rough, but absolute. "They'll be safe," he said. "I'm taking them to a shelter. They'll be returned to their families." Zara wanted to believe him, but belief was a luxury she couldn't afford anymore. Minho put her in the back of a black sedan, leather seats, clean, the nicest car she'd been in since landing in Korea. They drove through Seoul as dawn broke. Zara watched the city wake up, normal people living normal lives. She'd forgotten what normal looked like. The car stopped at a high-rise building, expensive, the kind of place Zara had only seen in movies. Minho led her inside, elevator to the top floor, the penthouse. When he opened the door, Zara just stood there. Floor-to-ceiling windows, view of the entire city, everything white and clean and impossibly beautiful. "You'll stay here," Minho said. Zara turned to look at him. "Why?" "Because I'm not sending you back to them," he said simply. "What do you want from me?" He met her eyes. "Nothing you're not willing to give." Then he left, locked the door from the outside. And Zara stood in that beautiful prison, finally out of the basement but still not free. But here's what she didn't know yet. What Minho wanted from her wasn't what she expected, and what she'd give him would be far more than either of them planned. The first week, Zara barely moved from the bedroom. The bed was soft, too soft. She kept waking up disoriented, half convinced she was still in that room with the other girls. But every morning, she'd open her eyes to sunlight, to clean sheets, to silence that wasn't filled with crying. Minho came by twice that first week. The first time he brought a doctor, a woman, which surprised Zara. "She needs to check you're healthy," Minho said, staying by the door while the doctor examined her. Zara wasn't healthy. 2 years of malnutrition had wrecked her body. The doctor prescribed medications, vitamins, a meal plan. Minho made sure she had everything. The second time he visited, he brought food. Real Korean food, not the slop she'd been surviving on. "You need to eat," he said, setting containers on the counter. Zara stared at the food. "Why are you doing this?" "Doing what?" "Taking care of me." Minho was quiet for a moment, because no one else will. It wasn't quite an answer, but it was something. Now pay attention to this next part, because this is where things started to shift. The third week, Zara finally asked the question she'd been holding back. Minho had come by with dinner again. He did that now, brought food, made sure she ate, stayed while she did. "What happens to me?" Zara asked, "after I'm healthy again?" Minho set down his chopsticks. "What do you want to happen?" "I want to go home, back to London, back to my mum." "Do you think that's possible?" The question hit her hard, because Zara had been thinking about it constantly, about going home, about seeing her mum again. But she also knew the reality. The organization that took her, they were still out there. If she just showed up back in London, they'd know. They'd come for her. She'd never be safe. "No," Zara said quietly. "I don't think it's possible." Minho nodded. "It's not yet." "Then what am I supposed to do? Stay here forever?" "You stay here until it's safe," he said. "Until I make it safe." "Why would you do that?" Minho looked at her for a long moment. Then, "Because 3 years ago they took someone from me too, my sister. She was 17, I never found her." The words hung heavy in the air. Zara understood then. This wasn't about her, or it wasn't just about her. Minho was hunting the people who destroyed his family, and somehow, Zara had become part of that hunt. But here's what Zara didn't realize yet. Being part of Minho's world meant becoming part of him, and that was more dangerous than anything she'd survived so far. 3 months passed. Zara's body healed. She gained weight. Color returned to her face. The doctor said she was making remarkable progress. But Zara felt hollow inside, like she was a shell of a person pretending to be whole. Minho noticed. "You need purpose," he said one evening. "Sitting here alone, it's killing you." "What kind of purpose?" "Help me find them," he said. "The organization that took you. I've been tracking them for 3 years. You've been inside their operation. You know things I don't. Zara's stomach tightened. What do you need me to do? Translate, decode. Tell me how they think, how they operate. It should have felt wrong. Should have felt like she was diving back into the nightmare. But instead, it felt like power. For the first time in 2 years, Zara could do something, could fight back. Okay, she said, I'll help you. Minho smiled. It was small but genuine. Good. That was the moment everything changed, because helping Minho meant spending time with him, hours in his office, late nights reviewing documents, meals together while they worked. And slowly, quietly, Zara stopped seeing him as her captor. She started seeing him as something else entirely. 6 months in, the dynamic had shifted completely. Zara didn't just live in the penthouse anymore. She worked there, translated documents, identified patterns, helped Minho map out the trafficking network. She was good at it, surprisingly good. And Minho treated her differently now, not like property, not like a victim he'd saved. Like a partner. They'd have dinner together most nights. He'd tell her about his day, carefully edited, Zara knew, but still more than he probably told anyone else. She'd tell him about what she'd found in the documents. They'd strategize, plan. It felt almost normal. One night, after a particularly long day of work, Minho poured them both whiskey. You don't have to drink it, he said, sliding a glass toward her. But Zara took it, sipped it. The burn felt good, real. Can I ask you something? She said. Go ahead. Why do you live alone? A man like you, powerful, wealthy, shouldn't you have people around you? Minho smiled slightly. People are complicated, dangerous. The more people you let in, the more vulnerabilities you create. Is that what I am? A vulnerability? He looked at her then, really looked at her. Yes, he said honestly, but a necessary one. Zara didn't know why, but that answer made her heart beat faster. Now this is critical to understand, because this is where Zara started falling. Slowly, dangerously. 8 months in, something shifted. Minho came home one night. Zara had started thinking of it as home, his home, and he looked exhausted, defeated in a way she'd never seen. What happened? She asked. Dead end, he said, dropping onto the couch. Thought we had a lead on my sister, it was nothing. Zara sat next to him, not too close, but close enough. I'm sorry, she said. 3 years, Minho said quietly. 3 years and I'm no closer to finding her than I was the day she disappeared. You saved me, Zara said. You saved those other girls, that has to count for something. He looked at her. Does it? Yes. They sat in silence for a moment. Then Minho did something unexpected. He reached over and took her hand. It wasn't sexual, wasn't possessive. It was just human connection, comfort. Zara's breath caught. Thank you, Minho said, for helping me, for being here. Where else would I be? Zara tried to make it sound light, but her voice betrayed her. Minho's thumb traced over her knuckles, once, twice. Then he let go and stood up. Get some rest, he said. Tomorrow we keep looking. He left for his bedroom, left Zara sitting on the couch, her hand still warm from his touch. That night, Zara couldn't sleep, because she realized something terrifying. She was falling in love with Kang Minho. The man who'd saved her, the man who owned her, the man who'd given her purpose when she had none. She was falling for him, and she had no idea if he felt the same. 1 year into living with Minho, everything changed again. He came home late one night. Zara was still awake, working on translations in the living room. He looked at her, something intense in his eyes. Come here, he said. Zara stood up, walked over to him. Minho reached out, cupped her face in his hands. Tell me to stop, he said. Zara's heart was pounding. I don't want you to stop. He kissed her, and Zara kissed him back. What happened next would define the next year of her life, would make her his in ways she'd never been anyone's before. But it would also set the stage for heartbreak she couldn't have imagined. That first kiss changed everything. Minho pulled back after a moment, searching Zara's face for something. Hesitation, maybe. Regret. He found neither. "This is a mistake," he said quietly, but he didn't let go of her. "Probably," Zara agreed. Her hands were on his chest now. She could feel his heartbeat, fast like hers. "You don't understand what you're getting into." "Then show me." Minho looked at her for one more long moment. Then he kissed her again, deeper this time, hungrier. He pulled her toward his bedroom, the room Zara had never been allowed to enter in the entire year she'd lived here. Now this is important to understand, because this wasn't just about attraction. This was about two broken people finding something whole in each other. That night, Zara learned what it meant to belong to someone by choice instead of by force. Minho was gentle, careful, like she was something precious he was afraid to break. It undid her completely. Afterwards, they lay in his bed, his massive bed with silk sheets and a view of the city through the windows, and Zara felt safe for the first time in 2 years. "This can't happen again," Minho said, his arm around her. "Why not?" "Because I'm not good for you. This world I'm in, it's dangerous, dark. You deserve better." Zara turned to look at him. "You saved me. You gave me purpose. You made me feel human again. How is that not good for me?" Minho didn't answer, just held her tighter. But the next night, when Zara knocked on his door, he let her in again. And the night after that. And the night after that. This is where Zara's old self disappeared completely, because she wasn't the girl from London anymore. She was Minho's, and being his felt like coming home. 14 months in, Zara had completely integrated into Minho's life. She still worked on translations, still helped him track the trafficking network. But now she also slept in his bed, wore clothes he bought her, attended dinners with his business associates, though he always introduced her vaguely, never with a specific title. "This is Zara," he'd say, nothing more. She knew what it meant. She was his secret, his private thing. It should have bothered her, should have felt like another cage. But it didn't, because when they were alone, Minho looked at her like she was the only person in the world that mattered. One night, after a particularly brutal day of work, they'd found evidence of a new trafficking route through Thailand. Zara broke down. "There's so many of them," she said, tears streaming down her face. "We shut down one operation and 3 more pop up. How do we ever stop this?" Minho pulled her into his arms. "We keep fighting, we don't stop." "What if we can't win?" "Then we make sure we hurt them as much as possible before we go down." It wasn't reassuring, but it was honest. Zara cried into his chest while he held her, and when she finally stopped, he tilted her face up and kissed her forehead. "You're stronger than you think," he said. "I don't feel strong." "You are. You survived 2 years of hell, you're still here, still fighting, that's strength." Now here's what made it complicated. Because Minho never said he loved her, never made promises about the future, never called her his girlfriend. But he held her every night, listened when she talked, trusted her with his darkest mission. And Zara told herself that was enough. 18 months in, things felt almost perfect. Zara had settled into the rhythm of Minho's world. She knew his schedule, knew his moods, knew when to push and when to give him space. She'd become essential to his operation, not just for translations anymore, but for strategy, for planning. Minho consulted her on major decisions, valued her input. "You see patterns I miss," he told her once. "You think like them because you were one of them. That's valuable." It was the closest he'd come to saying she mattered beyond her usefulness. Zara held onto those words like a lifeline. They'd fallen into domestic routines too. Morning coffee together, him reading the news while she worked on her laptop, dinners where they'd talk about everything and nothing. One evening, Zara was cooking. She'd taught herself using YouTube videos, wanting to do something for him that wasn't work-related, when Minho came up behind her and wrapped his arms around her waist. "Smells good," he murmured against her neck. "It's just pasta." "Still good." They stood like that for a moment, just existing together. "Minho," Zara said softly. "Oh, what are we?" She felt him tense slightly, What do you mean? I mean, what am I to you, really? He was quiet for a long moment. Then, you're mine, isn't that enough? It should have been. Zara wanted it to be. Yes, she said, because what else could she say? But that question, that unanswered question would haunt her, because mine wasn't the same as loved. And Zara was starting to realize she needed more than possession. She needed to know if he felt what she felt. 20 months in, Zara finally said the words she'd been holding back. They were in bed, post-sex. Minho was half asleep, his hand tracing lazy patterns on her bare shoulder. I love you, Zara whispered. Minho's hand stopped moving. The silence stretched, long, painful. Finally, Zara. You don't have to say it back, she said quickly. I needed you to know. Minho sat up, ran a hand through his hair. This is complicated. I know. My world, what I do, people like me don't get happy endings. I'm not asking for a happy ending. I'm just telling you how I feel. He looked at her then, really looked at her. And for a moment, Zara thought she saw something in his eyes, something that looked like pain. I care about you, he said finally. More than I should, more than is safe. But you don't love me. I didn't say that. But you won't say you do either. Minho pulled her close, held her tight. If something happens to me, if this world takes me down, I need you to be able to walk away, to have a life. You can't do that if you love me. Too late, Zara said against his chest. I already do. He didn't respond, just held her until she fell asleep. But here's what Zara didn't see. After she fell asleep, Minho stayed awake for hours, looking at her, his expression unreadable. Because he did love her. He loved her so much it terrified him. And that terror would drive every decision he made in the months to come. 22 months in, things started to shift. It was subtle at first, Minho working later, coming home exhausted, distracted. He still held Zara at night, still made love to her, but there was a distance that hadn't been there before. Is everything okay? Zara asked one evening. Fine, Minho said, but he didn't look at her when he said it. You've been different lately. Just work, nothing you need to worry about. But Zara did worry, because Minho had always told her everything about the operation. They were partners in this. Now he was shutting her out. She tried to tell herself it was nothing, that he was just stressed, that whatever he was dealing with, he'd tell her when he was ready. But here's what Zara didn't know. Minho had gotten a lead, a real one, on the upper level of the trafficking organization. And getting to them required something Zara couldn't be part of. Something that would destroy what they had. 23 months in, the distance grew worse. Minho started sleeping in his office some nights, said he had too much work, didn't want to wake her. When he did come to bed, he'd kiss her forehead and turn away, no longer pulling her close, no longer making love to her. Zara felt the withdrawal like a physical ache. Did I do something wrong? She asked one night, her voice small. Minho turned to look at her, and for just a moment, she saw anguish in his eyes. No, he said, you've done nothing wrong. Then why does it feel like you're pulling away? I'm not, he stopped, sighed. I'm trying to protect you. From what? From me, from this world, from what's coming. What's coming? He didn't answer, just kissed her forehead again and closed his eyes. Zara lay awake beside him, feeling him slip further and further away. This is where everything started to unravel, because Zara's worst fear wasn't that Minho would hurt her physically. It was that he'd stop wanting her. That she'd lose the one person who'd made her feel alive again. 2 years in, exactly 2 years from the day Minho had found her in that basement, everything fell apart. Zara woke up alone. Not unusual anymore, but this felt different. She got up, went to the kitchen. No coffee made, no note, nothing. The penthouse felt wrong, empty in a way it hadn't before. Zara tried calling Minho, straight to voicemail. She told herself not to panic. He was probably just in a meeting. But the hours dragged on. No call, no text. By evening, Zara was frantic. That's when she decided to check his office, the private one in the penthouse that she usually avoided. The door was unlocked. She pushed it open. And that's when she saw it. On his desk, a photo, professional, beautiful. A woman, Korean, elegant, sophisticated, everything Zara wasn't. And on her hand, a ring. Zara picked up the photo with shaking hands. On the back, written in Minho's handwriting. Engagement announcement, finalized by Friday. The room tilted. Engagement. Minho was getting engaged. To someone else. Now wait, this is critical to understand, because what happened next shaped everything that followed. Zara stood in that office for a long time, just staring at the photo. 2 years of being his, of sharing his bed, of believing that what they had mattered. And all along, he'd been planning this. The distance, the coldness, the pulling away. It all made sense now. He was moving on, moving forward, with someone appropriate, someone from his world, someone he could actually be with publicly. And Zara, she was just the girl he'd saved, the girl who warmed his bed, temporary, disposable. The realization was a physical pain, like something breaking inside her chest. She put the photo down carefully, walked back to the bedroom, started packing. She didn't have much, some clothes, some money she'd saved from the household account Minho had given her access to. She took enough to survive, nothing more. Then she wrote a note, short, simple. I saw the photo, I understand, thank you for everything. Z. She left it on the kitchen counter, where he'd find it. Then Zara walked out of the penthouse, out of Minho's building, out of his life. And she told herself she'd never look back, that she'd survive this the way she'd survived everything else. But what Zara didn't know was that leaving Minho's protection would put her in more danger than she'd ever been in before. Because the people he'd been hunting, they'd been hunting her too. Zara made it to the bus station with no problems, bought a ticket to Busan, far enough away to disappear, different city, fresh start. The bus was supposed to leave in an hour. She sat in the station, her small bag at her feet, trying not to think about Minho coming home to an empty penthouse. That's when her phone rang. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer, but something made her pick up. Hello. Silence, then breathing. Then a voice, male, speaking English with a heavy accent. The girl who escaped, we've been looking for you. Zara's blood went cold. Who is this? You cost us a lot of money, Zara from London. We're going to get that money back. The line went dead. Zara looked around the bus station. Everyone seemed normal, no one paying attention to her. But she felt watched, hunted. She grabbed her bag and ran. Zara ran out of the bus station, her heart hammering in her chest. 2 years with Minho had taught her some things, how to stay aware of her surroundings, how to spot when someone was following you. She looked back, 3 men, casual clothes but moving with purpose, moving toward her. Zara ducked into a crowded market street, weaved through people, kept her head down. Her phone rang again, same unknown number. Against her better judgment, she answered. Running won't help, the voice said. We have people everywhere. Seoul, Busan, Incheon, you can't hide from us. What do you want? We want what was taken from us. You were an investment, a premium product. Someone needs to pay for that loss. I'm not going back. The man laughed. You think you have a choice. Zara hung up, turned off her phone completely. She needed to get off the streets, needed somewhere safe. But where? She had no one, no friends, no family in Korea. The only person she'd had was. No, she couldn't go back to Minho. He'd made his choice. He was building a life that didn't include her. But here's what Zara didn't realize yet. Minho was the only thing that had been keeping her safe these past 2 years. And now that protection was gone. Zara found a small motel in a rundown part of Seoul, paid cash, used a fake name. The room was nothing like the penthouse. Dirty carpet, stained walls, a bed that creaked when she sat on it. But it was anonymous, and that's what she needed. She sat on the edge of the bed, trying to think, trying to plan. She had maybe $2,000 in cash. enough to survive for a few weeks if she was careful. But then what? She couldn't work legally in Korea. She didn't have the right documents. Min-ho had been handling all of that, keeping her in a gray area where she existed but didn't officially exist. She couldn't go home to London. The traffickers had found her once through a fake job posting. They could do it again. They'd know to watch for her there. She was trapped. Now pay attention to this next part, because this is where Zara realized how much she'd been depending on Min-ho without even knowing it. That night, Zara barely slept. Every sound in the hallway made her jump. Every car passing outside made her heart race. She kept thinking about the voice on the phone. We have people everywhere. How had they found her so fast? She'd only left the penthouse a few hours ago. Unless they'd been watching Min-ho's building, waiting for an opportunity. Waiting for her to leave his protection. The thought made her sick. Around 3 a.m, she heard voices outside her door. Low, urgent. Korean. She couldn't make out all the words, but she caught a few. This floor. Check every room. The boss wants her alive. Zara's blood turned to ice. She grabbed her bag, looked around the room for another exit. The window, 3rd floor, but there was a fire escape. She opened it as quietly as possible, slipped out into the cold night air. Behind her, she heard the motel room door crash open. She didn't look back, just climbed down the fire escape as fast as she could and ran. Zara ran until her lungs burned, until her legs felt like they'd give out. She ended up in an alley behind a convenience store, collapsed against the wall, trying to catch her breath. Her phone was still off. She was too scared to turn it on, too scared they could track it somehow. But she also had no way to call for help. Not that she had anyone to call. Min-ho's face flashed through her mind. The way he'd looked at her 2 years ago when he'd walked into that basement. The way he'd held her last night, distant but still there. Would he even care that she was gone? Or would he be relieved? Stop it, she told herself. You can't think about him. You need to focus on surviving. But focusing was hard when every shadow looked like a threat. She stayed in that alley until sunrise, then forced herself to move. She needed to get out of Seoul, but the bus station was too obvious, the train station too. Maybe she could hitchhike, find a truck driver heading to another city. But what Zara didn't know was that Min-ho had already discovered she was gone, and he was tearing Seoul apart looking for her. Min-ho had come home to the penthouse around midnight. He'd been dreading it, dreading facing Zara after days of distance, days of avoiding her because seeing her hurt too much. The engagement he was planning, it wasn't what she thought, but he couldn't tell her that, not yet, not until it was done. He walked into the penthouse and immediately knew something was wrong. The silence was different, empty. Zara, he called out. No answer. He checked the bedroom, the bathroom, the office. That's when he saw the note on the kitchen counter. His stomach dropped as he read it. I saw the photo, I understand, thank you for everything. Z. No, he breathed. No. He tried calling her, straight to voicemail. He called his men. Find her, now, check every camera around the building, I need to know where she went. 20 minutes later, they called back. She was spotted at the bus station, but she never got on a bus. She ran, we're tracking her now. What do you mean she ran? Someone contacted her, spooked her, we're trying to identify who. Min-ho's blood went cold. Pull all footage, I need to know who's following her. Another 10 minutes, another call. Boss, it's not good. The park organization, they've mobilized. They're hunting someone. Who? We think it's her. Min-ho's vision went red. The park organization, mid-level traffickers he'd been tracking, part of the network that had taken Zara in the first place. They'd been waiting, watching, and the moment she stepped outside his protection, they'd pounced. This is where Min-ho realized his mistake. He'd been so focused on protecting Zara from the truth about the engagement that he'd forgotten to protect her from the real threats. Min-ho mobilized every resource he had. Find her before they do, he ordered his men. I don't care what it takes, bring her back. He got in his car and drove through Seoul himself, checking every place he thought she might go. The bus station, the train station, the airport. Nothing. His phone rang, one of his men. We found her last location, a motel in Yeongdeungpo, but boss, they found it too. She escaped out the window. We're trying to track where she went after that. Min-ho cursed. How did they find her so fast? They must have been watching your building, waiting for her to leave. How long has she been running? At least 4 hours now. 4 hours, in the cold, being hunted. Min-ho's chest tightened. He'd put her in this position. He'd made her feel like she needed to leave, like she wasn't wanted. And now she was out there, alone, with people who wanted to hurt her. Now this is where Min-ho made a decision. Screw the plan, screw the operation. Nothing mattered, except getting Zara back safely. It took another 3 hours. 3 hours of searching, of tracking, of eliminating possibilities. Finally, one of his men spotted her, near Incheon. She'd made it to the outskirts of Seoul, was trying to flag down trucks on the highway. Don't approach her yet, Min-ho said. Just keep eyes on her, I'm coming. He drove faster than he should have, got there in 20 minutes. That's when he saw her. Zara, standing on the side of the highway, looking exhausted, scared, small. But alive. He pulled over, got out of the car. Zara saw him. Her expression cycled through shock, fear, relief, anger. How did you find me? She asked. I always find you, Min-ho said. He walked toward her slowly, like approaching a wounded animal. Get in the car. No. Zara. No, you made your choice. I saw the photo. You're getting married. I'm not going to be your secret anymore. It's not what you think. Then what is it? Min-ho looked at her, at this woman who'd become everything to him, who he'd pushed away to protect. Get in the car, he said again, and I'll explain everything, but not here, not where they can find you. Who? The park organization. They've been hunting you since you left. They almost had you at that motel. Zara's face went pale. How do you know about that? Because I have men watching them. Because I've been tracking their movements for months. Because, he stepped closer, because keeping you safe is the only thing that matters to me. Now this is where Zara's resolve started to crack, because she'd been so angry, so hurt. But hearing the fear in Min-ho's voice, real fear, changed something. If keeping me safe matters so much, why the engagement? Zara asked. Her voice broke on the last word. Min-ho reached out, cupped her face in his hands. Because the woman in that photo, she's the daughter of the park organization's financial backer, the man who funds their entire operation. Zara's eyes widened. What? I've been planning this for 6 months, getting close to the family, earning their trust. The engagement is my way in. Once I'm inside, once I have access to their finances, their operations, I can destroy them from within. You're using her. I'm using the situation, yes. Zara stared at him. But you're still marrying her. It's fake, Zara, all of it. The engagement, the relationship, it's an operation. For how long? Min-ho was quiet for a moment. As long as it takes to dismantle them completely. That could be months, years. Yes. And where does that leave me? Min-ho's jaw tightened. That's why I didn't tell you, because I knew you'd ask that question, and I don't have a good answer. This is the moment Zara had to decide. Stay and be his secret while he married another woman for an operation, or leave and risk being hunted by traffickers. Neither option was good. You should have told me, Zara said. Tears were streaming down her face now. You should have trusted me with the truth. I was trying to protect you. From what, the truth, or from having to make this choice? Min-ho pulled her against his chest, held her tight. From having to watch me with someone else, from having to pretend you don't matter when you're the only thing that does. Zara clung to him, 2 years of being his, 2 years of building something that felt real. And now she had to share him. I can't do this, she whispered against his chest. I can't watch you marry her, even if it's fake. Then don't watch. Come back to the penthouse. Stay there, safe. And when this is over, when I've destroyed them all, we'll figure out what comes next. And if it takes years, then it takes years, but you'll be alive, and that's all that matters to me. Zara wanted to say no, wanted to have enough pride to walk away, but the truth was she had nowhere else to go, and some part of her still loved him enough to wait, even if it destroyed her. Okay, she said finally, I'll come back. Minho pulled back to look at her. You will. But I have conditions. Anything. You tell me everything from now on. No more secrets. No more protecting me from the truth. Done. And when this operation is over, we leave, both of us. We get out of this world and we find somewhere we can actually be together, really together. Minho's expression softened. Is that what you want, to be with me, even after everything? Yes, you idiot. That's all I've ever wanted. He kissed her then, desperate, relief, love that he couldn't put into words. I'm sorry, he said against her lips. I'm sorry I made you think you didn't matter. I'm sorry I pushed you away. I was trying to make it easier. It wasn't easier, it was hell. I know, I'm sorry. They stood on the side of that highway, holding each other, while the sun came up over Seoul. But what neither of them knew yet was that the park organization had spotted them, had seen Minho pick up Zara. And now they had questions that would put both of them in danger. They drove back to the city in silence. Minho kept one hand on the wheel, the other holding Zara's. How long until the engagement is announced? Zara asked. 2 weeks. The wedding is planned for 3 months after that. 3 months. It won't last that long. I'll find what I need before then. And if you don't? Minho didn't answer, because he didn't have a good answer. They pulled up to the penthouse building. Minho's men were waiting, 3 of them. Boss, one of them said, we have a problem. What kind of problem? The park organization. They saw you pick her up. They're asking questions. Why the head of the Kang family would personally rescue a trafficking victim? Minho's jaw tightened. What did you tell them? Nothing yet, but they're not going to let this go, if they figure out she's living with you. They won't. Minho looked at Zara. We need to be more careful now. No more going out alone. No more leaving the penthouse without security. Zara felt the cage closing in again, but at least this time she understood why. This is where everything got more complicated, because now Zara wasn't just Minho's secret. She was evidence of a connection that could blow his entire operation. Inside the penthouse, Minho finally let himself relax slightly. You need to rest, he told Zara. You've been running for hours. I need answers first, she said. Tell me everything about the engagement, about the operation, all of it. So he did. He told her about tracking the park organization for 3 years, about discovering their financial backer, a supposedly legitimate businessman named Mr. Choi. About meeting Choi's daughter, Yuna, at a charity event 6 months ago, about carefully cultivating a relationship with her, making her think he was interested. About the engagement being proposed by Choi himself, the ultimate sign of trust, the ultimate access to their operations. Does she know? Zara asked. Yuna, does she know it's fake? Minho shook his head. No, she thinks it's real. She thinks I love her. The words hurt more than Zara expected. Do you have to? Have to what? Be with her, like you're with me. Minho's expression darkened. No, we're engaged, but I've kept it chaste. Traditional, said I want to wait until marriage. And she believed that. She appreciated it, thought it was romantic. Zara laughed bitterly. Romantic, right. Zara. I get it, I do. It's an operation, but it still feels like I'm losing you. Minho pulled her close. You're not losing me. You could never lose me. Promise. I promise. But promises in their world were fragile things, and neither of them knew just how tested that promise would be. That night, Zara tried to sleep in Minho's bed again, tried to pretend things were normal. But they weren't normal. Minho held her, but she could feel the tension in his body, the worry. What happens at the engagement party? She asked into the darkness. I smile. I play the role, I get closer to their operations. And I stay here, alone. Yes. For 3 months, maybe longer. Yes. Zara closed her eyes. I don't know if I can do this. You can. You're the strongest person I know. I don't feel strong. I feel like I'm breaking. Minho kissed her temple. Then break. I'll hold the pieces together until you can put yourself back together. It was the most honest thing he'd ever said to her. And somehow, that made it hurt more. Because Zara realized she'd been right all along. She loved him more than he could ever love her back. And that love was going to destroy her. The first week after Zara came back was tense. Minho had laid down rules, clear ones. You don't leave the penthouse without security. You don't go anywhere I don't know about. You don't take unnecessary risks. Zara had nodded, agreed. But agreeing and obeying were two different things. Because despite everything Minho had told her, about the engagement being fake, about the operation, a part of Zara still didn't fully believe him. A part of her wondered if this was just another cage, another way to keep her controlled. After all, he'd lied to her for 6 months about the engagement. What else was he lying about? Now this is where Zara's stubbornness became dangerous, because she started testing the boundaries. 3 days after she came back, Zara left the penthouse alone. She told herself it was just to the convenience store downstairs, just to get some air, to feel like a human being instead of a prisoner. Minho was at a meeting. He'd never know. She made it to the lobby before 2 of Minho's men stopped her. "Miss Zara," one of them said politely, "where are you going?" "Just to the store." "We'll accompany you." "I don't need babysitters." "Mr. Kang's orders." Zara's jaw tightened. "Mr. Kang doesn't own me." "With respect, Miss Zara, he's trying to keep you safe." "From what? I'm just going to the store." But she let them follow her, bought what she needed, came back. When Minho got home that evening, he knew immediately. "You left," he said, not a question. "Just to the store." "With my men following you." "Because apparently, I can't be trusted to walk 50 feet alone." Minho's expression hardened. "No, because the park organization is looking for you, because they have questions about why I picked you up on that highway, because if they figure out you're important to me, they'll use you against me. Or maybe you're just paranoid." "Paranoid?" Minho stepped closer. "Zara, these people torture information out of victims. They don't ask nicely. If they get their hands on you, they won't. You don't know that. And you don't know that this engagement is really about an operation," Zara shot back. "Maybe you're just keeping me here as a backup plan, in case things with your pretty fiancé don't work out." The words were cruel. Zara knew it, but they'd been building inside her for days. Minho's expression went cold. "If that's what you really think of me, why did you come back?" "Because I had nowhere else to go." The silence that followed was brutal. Now pay attention to this, because this is where the cracks in their relationship started to show, where Zara's inability to fully trust Minho began to put both of them in danger. After that fight, things got worse. Zara started deliberately pushing boundaries, not because she wanted to get hurt, but because she needed to know if Minho's concern was real or just about controlling her. She'd leave her phone behind when she went to different rooms, disappear for hours in the penthouse library, refuse to tell him where she'd been. Small rebellions, petty ones. But each one made Minho more tense, more controlling. "I need to know where you are at all times," he said one evening. "Why? So you can track me like inventory. So I can protect you." "I don't need your protection." "Yes, you do. You just don't want to admit it." Zara glared at him. "You know what I think. I think you like keeping me dependent on you. I think you like knowing I can't survive without you." "That's not." "Isn't it? You saved me, sure. But you never helped me get back on my feet, never helped me contact my mother, never helped me build an actual life. You just kept me here, your perfect little secret." Minho's jaw tightened. "I kept you here because the moment you surface anywhere, London, anywhere, they'll find you. Your name is flagged in their systems. They're still looking for you. Or that's what you tell me, so I stay." You don't believe me. I don't know what I believe anymore. This is where Minho made a mistake. He should have shown her proof, should have brought evidence, but instead, he just expected her to trust him. And Zara's trust had been broken too many times. The engagement party was in 5 days. Minho was preparing, meeting with Yuna and her family, playing his role. Each time he came home, Zara could smell her perfume on him, could see lipstick traces he'd tried to wipe off. She kissed you, Zara said one night. It's part of the act. Did you kiss her back? Zara, did you? Minho was quiet for a moment, briefly, for appearances. The admission felt like a knife. Get out, Zara said. What? Get out of this room, sleep in your office, I don't want you near me. Zara, you're being unreasonable. Unreasonable. You're kissing another woman and I'm supposed to just accept it. It's fake. It doesn't feel fake, Zara's voice broke. It feels like I'm watching you build a life with someone else while I sit here and wait like a fool. Minho ran a hand through his hair. What do you want me to do? Call off the engagement? Let the park organization keep operating? Keep trafficking girls? I want you to be honest with me. Really honest. Not this half-truth bullshit where I'm supposed to just trust you despite all evidence to the contrary. I am being honest. Then prove it. Show me evidence of this operation. Show me that this isn't just you wanting your cake and eating it too. Minho's expression went dark. You want proof? Fine, tomorrow I'll show you everything. But after that, you don't get to question me again. You either trust me or you don't. This ultimatum would prove to be a massive mistake, because Zara didn't respond well to ultimatums. The next day, Minho took Zara to his office in the city. The real one, not the penthouse office, his actual headquarters. It was in a nondescript building in Gangnam. Looked like any other corporate office from the outside. Inside was different. Men in suits, security everywhere. The kind of place where danger hummed beneath a professional veneer. Minho led her to a conference room, pulled up files on a laptop. This is the park organization structure, he said, showing her organizational charts. This is Mr. Choi, Yuna's father. He's been funding their operations for a decade. Zara studied the documents. They looked legitimate. This is my infiltration plan, Minho continued. The engagement gives me access to their financial systems. Once I'm inside, I can trace the money, find every operation they fund, shut them all down. And Yuna, what happens to her when you destroy her father? She'll be collateral damage, but she'll survive. Better to lose her father to prison than to continue benefiting from blood money. It was cold, calculating. Classic Minho. What about after? Zara asked. After you destroy them, what happens to us? Minho looked at her. We leave, like you wanted. We get out of this world and we start over. You promise? I promise. Zara wanted to believe him, but something still felt off. Maybe it was paranoia. Maybe it was self-preservation, but Zara couldn't shake the feeling that Minho was still hiding something. That night, Zara did something stupid. She waited until Minho fell asleep. Then she took his phone. She knew his password, had watched him enter it enough times. She scrolled through his messages, looking for, what? Evidence he was lying, evidence he was telling the truth. She found texts with Yuna, innocent mostly, planning for the engagement party, discussing flower arrangements. But then she found one message that made her stomach drop. From Yuna, I can't wait to start our life together. I've never been this happy. From Minho, me too. 2 words, that's all it was. But they felt like a betrayal. Zara took a screenshot, then put the phone back. She lay awake the rest of the night, staring at the ceiling, those 2 words echoing in her head. Me too. This is where Zara made her decision. She couldn't stay here, couldn't watch him marry someone else, couldn't trust that he'd ever really choose her. She needed to leave, for real this time. The next morning, Minho left early. Engagement party preparations. Zara waited 30 minutes, then she packed a bag. More this time, more money. A burner phone she'd bought secretly weeks ago. She was smarter now, wouldn't go to obvious places like bus stations. She'd researched women's shelters, places that help trafficking victims. She'd go there, get help, maybe eventually make it back to London. She left no note this time, just disappeared. But what Zara didn't know was that Min-ho had been expecting this, had been waiting for her to try to leave again. He'd put a tracker in her bag, in the lining, small, invisible. Not to control her, but because he knew she didn't fully trust him yet. And he needed to know where she was when she inevitably ran. Zara made it to a women's shelter in Incheon, about an hour from Seoul. She used the story she'd prepared. English girl, trafficking victim, needed help getting home. The women there were kind, gave her a bed, food, promised to help her navigate the system. For the first time in days, Zara felt like maybe she could actually escape, actually build a life outside of Min-ho's world. That lasted about 6 hours. She was eating dinner in the shelter's common room when 2 men walked in. Not Min-ho's men. Park organization. Zara recognized one of them from photos Min-ho had shown her, mid-level enforcer. He smiled when he saw her. "There you are, we've been looking everywhere for you." The shelter staff looked confused. "Who are you?" "Family," the man said smoothly in Korean. "She ran away from home. We're here to bring her back." "That's not true," Zara said, standing up. "I don't know them." "Miss, it's okay," one of the staff said. "If you're in danger, we can call the police." The enforcer pulled out a gun, casual, like it was nothing. "No police, just the girl. We'll leave everyone else alone." This is where Zara realized her mistake. She'd been so focused on escaping Min-ho that she'd forgotten about the real danger. The shelter staff backed away. Smart, self-preservation. Zara looked at the door. Could she run? Maybe. But then the second man moved to block it. "Don't make this difficult," the enforcer said. "We just want to talk." "Talk about what?" "About why Kang Min-ho cares so much about one trafficking victim. About what you mean to him. About what information you have." "I don't know what you're talking about." "Don't lie, we saw him pick you up personally. We've been watching his building. We know you've been living with him. That makes you valuable." The enforcer stepped closer. "So here's what's going to happen. You're going to come with us quietly. We're going to have a conversation. And maybe, if you cooperate, you'll survive it." Zara's hands were shaking. She looked around for a weapon. Anything. That's when her phone buzzed. The burner phone. The one no one was supposed to have the number to. She pulled it out. Text message, unknown number. "Duck, now." Zara dropped to the floor. The window, behind the enforcer, exploded. Min-ho's men had found her, and they weren't asking nicely. The next 3 minutes were chaos. Gunfire, screaming, the shelter residents running for cover. Min-ho's men came through the windows, professional, efficient. They took down both park organization men in seconds. Then Min-ho himself walked through the front door. He looked furious, terrified, relieved all at once. He crossed the room in 3 strides, grabbed Zara, checked her for injuries. "Are you hurt?" he demanded. "No, What the hell were you thinking?" His voice was shaking. "You left, again, after everything I told you, after I showed you proof. I saw your messages with Yuna. You told her you were happy, you said me too." Min-ho stared at her. "You went through my phone." "Answer the question." "It was 2 words, Zara, 2 words to maintain a cover. How can you not see?" He stopped, took a breath. "You don't trust me. After everything, you still don't trust me. Because you keep things from me. I keep things from you to protect you. Or to control me." They were shouting now, in front of Min-ho's men, in front of the terrified shelter staff, all pretense of privacy gone. One of Min-ho's men cleared his throat. "Boss, we should go. Park organization will send more." Min-ho nodded curtly, grabbed Zara's arm, not gently. "We're leaving," he said. "I'm not going with you." "Yes, you are." "You can't make me." Min-ho pulled her close, his voice low and dangerous. "They know about you now, Zara. They know you matter to me. That makes you a target, the biggest target. So yes, you are coming with me. whether you trust me or not. And then what? I go back to being your captive. You go back to being alive. He dragged her toward the door. Zara struggled, but Minho was stronger. His men followed, efficient, professional. They put her in the car. Minho got in beside her. The drive back to Seoul was silent, tense. Zara stared out the window, fighting tears, fighting the urge to scream. Finally, she said quietly, I saw her face, in the photos on your desk. She's beautiful, elegant, everything I'm not. Why would you choose me over her? Minho didn't answer right away. Then, because she's what I'm supposed to want, and you're what I actually want, there's a difference. Is there? Or are you just telling me what I need to hear so I stay? I don't know how to prove it to you, Minho said, his voice exhausted. I've shown you documents, explained the operation, risked everything to keep you safe. What more do you want from me? I want you to choose me, Zara's voice broke. I want you to call off this engagement, tell Yuna the truth, walk away from this operation and just choose me. I can't. Why not? Because if I do, the park organization keeps operating. Keeps taking girls, and more people end up like you, like my sister. Is that what you want? Zara knew he was right, hated that he was right, but she couldn't stop the part of her that wanted him to choose her anyway. They got back to the penthouse building. Minho's security had been tripled, men everywhere. He took Zara upstairs. Once inside, he locked the door. Sit, he ordered. I'm not a dog. Sit down. The command in his voice made Zara obey despite herself. Minho paced, running his hands through his hair, trying to calm down. Finally, he stopped in front of her. The engagement party is in 2 days, he said. After tonight, the park organization is going to be watching me even more closely, looking for any connection to you, any weakness they can exploit. So what does that mean? It means you can't leave this penthouse, not for anything, not for any reason. You're locking me in. I'm keeping you alive. Same thing. Minho crouched down in front of her, took her hands. Zara, listen to me. They almost had you tonight. If my men had been 5 minutes later, you'd be gone, disappeared, and I would never find you, just like my sister. His voice cracked on the last sentence. Zara saw real fear in his eyes, not anger, not control. Fear. I can't lose you, he said quietly. I won't survive it, so please, please just trust me for 2 more months. Let me finish this operation. Then we leave, both of us, I promise. Zara wanted to believe him, wanted to so badly, but something still felt wrong, still felt like there was something he wasn't telling her. What aren't you telling me? She asked. Minho's expression shifted, just slightly. What do you mean? There's something you're not saying. I can feel it. Zara, tell me the truth, all of it right now. Minho stood up, walked to the window, stared out at the city. The engagement isn't just about getting close to Choi, he said finally. It's bait. Bait for what? For the upper levels of the organization, the real people in charge. Choi is just a financier. But the people who run the trafficking network, who took you, who took my sister, they're going to be at the wedding. Why? Because Choi invited them. It's a power move, a celebration of their partnership, and I'm going to be there, with access, with opportunity. Zara's stomach dropped. You're going to kill them. I'm going to make sure they never hurt anyone again. That's not the same thing. In my world, it is. This is where Zara finally understood. Minho wasn't just planning to expose the organization. He was planning to destroy it completely, violently. What happens to Yuna? Zara asked. When you kill her father's partners at her wedding? She survives. She moves on, eventually. And what happens to you? That depends. On what? On whether I'm fast enough, smart enough, lucky enough. Zara stood up, walked over to him. You might die. Yes. And you weren't going to tell me that. No. Why not? Minho finally looked at her. Because if you knew I might not come back, you'd try to stop me. And I need to do this, Zara. I need to end them, for my sister, for you, for every girl they've destroyed. Zara understood then. This wasn't just about revenge. This was about closure, about justice. And Minho was willing to die for it. "Take me with you," she said. "What? No. Take me with you. To the wedding, I can help." "Absolutely not." "Why not?" "Because if something goes wrong, if I fail, I need to know you're safe. You're the only good thing I've ever done. I can't risk you." But Zara had made her decision. If Minho was walking into danger, she wasn't going to sit in this penthouse and wait to see if he came back. She was going to find a way to be there, to help, or to die trying. That night, while Minho slept, Zara started planning. She knew she couldn't leave the penthouse, not with all the security. But the engagement party was in 2 days, the wedding in 2 months. She had time to figure out how to get to that wedding, how to be there when Minho needed her. Because despite everything, despite the lies, the control, the engagement to another woman, Zara loved him. And she wasn't going to let him die alone. Even if it meant she died too. 2 days passed like a countdown to execution. Minho was barely home, meetings with Yuna's family, final preparations, playing the devoted fiancé. Each time he left, Zara felt the distance grow wider. She agreed to stay in the penthouse, agreed to be safe. But agreements meant nothing when you didn't trust the person you made them with. On the morning of the engagement party, Minho came into the bedroom where Zara was pretending to read. He was wearing a suit, expensive, tailored perfectly. He looked like he belonged in Yuna's world. Not hers. "I'll be back late," he said. "Don't wait up." Zara didn't look at him. "Have fun with your fiancé." Minho's jaw tightened. "Zara." "Just go. You're going to be late." He stood there for a moment longer, then left without another word. Zara waited until she heard the penthouse door close, counted to 100. Then she got up and started getting ready. Because she'd made a decision, a stupid, reckless, dangerous decision. She was going to that engagement party. Now pay attention to this, because this is where Zara's stubbornness stopped being just annoying and became actively dangerous. Getting out of the penthouse was harder than she expected. Minho's men were everywhere, 2 in the lobby, 1 by the elevator, more outside the building. But Zara had been watching them for weeks, learning their patterns, their blind spots. She waited until the security rotation changed at 3 p.m. That gave her a 7-minute window when the hallway cameras reset. She stolen a maintenance uniform from the laundry room days ago, put it on now with a baseball cap pulled low. Walked out like she belonged there, confident, head down but not suspicious. Made it to the service elevator, down to the parking garage. One of Minho's men was there, Zara's heart hammered. But he barely glanced at her, just another maintenance worker leaving for the day. She walked past him, out of the garage, into the street. Free. For now. The engagement party was at the Grand Hyatt. Zara had overheard Minho mention it on the phone. She took a taxi, paid cash, told herself this wasn't insane, told herself she had a plan. She didn't have a plan. What she had was a desperate need to see Minho with Yuna, to see if what he'd told her was true, if this really was just an act, or if he'd been lying all along. The hotel was massive, expensive. Zara felt out of place immediately. She couldn't just walk into the party. Security would stop her. But she'd learned a few things living with Minho, how to blend in, how to look like you belonged. She found the staff entrance, walked in like she was supposed to be there. A server's uniform was hanging in the break room. She took it, put it on. Then she grabbed a tray and walked toward the ballroom. Now this is where everything started to go wrong, because Zara wasn't thinking clearly, wasn't thinking about consequences. She just needed to see him. The ballroom was stunning. Crystal chandeliers, hundreds of guests in expensive clothes. And there, at the center of it all, was Minho. With Yuna. She was beautiful, even more beautiful than her photos. Elegant dress, perfect smile. And Minho's arm was around her waist. Zara stopped walking, just stared. Minho was laughing at something Yuna said, leaning close, playing the part perfectly. Too perfectly. Zara felt something break inside her chest. Because he looked happy. He looked like he belonged with Yuna, like this was where he was meant to be. Not with Zara, not with the broken girl he'd saved. She turned to leave. This was a mistake. She needed to go before. You there, with the tray. Zara froze. An older Korean man was looking at her, expensive suit, cold eyes. She recognized him from Minho's files. Mr. Choi, Yuna's father. Yes, sir, Zara said in Korean, keeping her head down. Champagne, now. Zara nodded, moved toward him with the tray. Her hands were shaking. She was too close, too visible. Choi took a glass without really looking at her, started to turn away. Then he stopped. Looked at her again, really looked. Have we met? He asked. No, sir. I just work for the catering company. But Choi was staring at her face, his expression shifting. And Zara realized her mistake. She'd been in those files Minho had shown her, photos of trafficking victims, evidence. If Choi had been involved in reviewing those cases. You, he said slowly, you're the girl from the highway, the one Kang Minho picked up. Zara's blood went cold. She should run, should drop the tray and run. But she was frozen. Choi grabbed her arm, hard, security. Now everything happened very fast. Minho saw the commotion before he heard it. Security moving through the crowd, Choi's raised voice, people turning to look. Then he saw her. Zara, in a server's uniform, Choi's hand gripping her arm. Everything stopped. Time, breath, thought. Yuna was saying something beside him. He didn't hear it. Couldn't hear anything over the roaring in his ears. What the hell was she doing here? He'd left her safe, locked in, protected. And she'd come here anyway. Minho started moving through the crowd, fast but controlled, can't look panicked, can't blow the cover. But inside he was screaming. Let me go, Zara was saying in Korean, trying to pull away from Choi. Not until you tell me what you're doing here, Choi said. His security men were closing in, 3 of them, big, professional. I told you, I work for the catering. Don't lie to me, I know your face. You were in the files, one of the escaped products. Zara's stomach dropped. Products, that's what they called them. I don't know what you're talking about. Then Minho was there. He stepped between Zara and Choi, smooth, casual, like this was nothing. Is there a problem? Minho asked in Korean, his voice pleasant, but Zara could hear the edge underneath. Choi looked at him. This girl, I know her. She was involved with the park organization, one of the ones who escaped. Really? Minho glanced at Zara. His expression gave nothing away. She looks like a server to me. She's the one you picked up on the highway. 3 weeks ago, my people saw you. The ballroom had gone quiet, people watching, listening. Yuna appeared at Minho's side. What's happening? Nothing, darling, Minho said, not looking away from Choi. Just a misunderstanding. But Choi wasn't backing down. No misunderstanding. I want to know why this girl is at my daughter's engagement party, and why you seem so interested in protecting her. This is where Minho had to make a choice. Blow his cover to save Zara, or maintain the operation and sacrifice her. Zara saw the calculation in his eyes, saw him weighing options. And something in her broke completely. Because she realized he might actually choose the operation. I'm nobody, Zara said quickly in English, breaking the moment. I'm just working, I'll leave, I'm sorry. She tried to pull away. But Choi's security grabbed her other arm. No, Choi said, not until we figure out what's going on here. Minho's hand moved to his waist. Where Zara knew, he kept a gun hidden under his jacket. She saw the shift in his posture, saw him preparing for violence. Don't, she said quietly in English, just to him. Don't blow this for me. Minho's eyes met hers, and for a second she saw everything. The fear, the rage, the impossible choice. Then he stepped back. Let Choi's men take her. I've never seen her before, Minho said coldly. If she's connected to the park organization, that's your business to handle, not mine. The words were like knives. Zara stared at him, betrayed, disbelieving. He was really going to let them take her. Yuna looked confused. Minho, what's... It's nothing, Minho said, taking her hand, pulling her attention away. Just some security issue. Your father will handle it. He turned his back on Zara, walked away with Yuna. And Zara understood. This was it. This was the moment she'd been afraid of all along. When it came down to it, Minho chose the operation, chose his revenge, chose everything except her. Now pay attention to this next part, because what happened next would haunt both of them. Choi's men dragged Zara out of the ballroom. She didn't fight. What was the point? They took her down a service corridor, into a small office. Choi followed, closed the door. Sit, he ordered. Zara sat. Her mind was blank, numb. Choi studied her. You're English. Yes. You were taken, 3 years ago, London recruitment. Yes. And you escaped, but not on your own. Someone helped you. Zara didn't answer. Kang Minho helped you, Choi said. That's why you were at his building. That's why he picked you up personally. He was just being kind. Kang Minho is never just kind. Everything he does has a purpose. Choi leaned forward. So what's his purpose with you? Zara met his eyes. I don't know, ask him. I'm asking you. Then I guess you'll be disappointed. Choi smiled. It wasn't pleasant. You're protecting him. Interesting. Does he inspire that kind of loyalty in all his charity cases? I'm not protecting anyone. I don't know anything. We'll see about that. Choi pulled out his phone, made a call, spoke rapidly in Korean. Zara caught enough words to understand. He was calling the park organization, telling them he had her, asking what they wanted to do with her. Her heart started pounding again. This was bad. This was really bad. 10 minutes later, 2 new men arrived. Park organization. Zara recognized the tattoos on their necks. This her? One of them asked Choi in Korean. Yes, the one who escaped, the one Kang has been protecting. The men looked at Zara, like she was merchandise they were evaluating. She caused us a lot of problems, one said. We had buyers lined up, premium price, lost a lot of money when she disappeared. So what do you want to do with her? Choi asked. Take her, finish what we started. Maybe use her to send a message to Kang. Let him know we don't appreciate interference. Choi nodded. Go ahead, just keep it quiet. I don't want this disrupting my daughter's party. Of course. They moved toward Zara. She stood up, back toward the wall. Please, she said, not sure who she was even begging. Please don't. One of the men grabbed her. That's when the door exploded inward. Minho came through like a force of nature. Gun already drawn, 2 shots, both park men dropped. Choi's security reached for their weapons. Minho shot one, the other got a bullet in the leg. Choi himself backed against the wall, hands up. Kang. Shut up, Minho said. His voice was dead calm, terrifying. He crossed to Zara, grabbed her hand. We're leaving. But the operation. I don't care about the operation. He pulled her toward the door, stopped, looked back at Choi. You were right, Minho said. Everything I do has a purpose. The engagement, the partnership, all of it. I was coming for you, for all of you. Choi's face went pale. You. But she's worth more than revenge, more than justice, more than watching you all burn. Minho raised his gun, pointed it at Choi. So here's what's going to happen. You're going to tell the park organization to back off. Permanently. You're going to forget Zara exists, and you're going to dissolve your partnership with them. Or what? Or I release every file I have on your operations to the press, the police, and Interpol. Your daughter will watch her father go to prison for the rest of his life. Your family will be destroyed. Everything you've built will burn. You're bluffing. Minho pulled out his phone, showed Choi the screen. Files, documents, bank records. I've been gathering evidence for 3 years. I have everything. Names, dates, transactions. Enough to put you and everyone you work with away forever. Choi stared at the phone, his expression crumbling. So what's it going to be? Minho asked. Now this is where Choi made his choice, and it wasn't the brave one. Fine, Choi said, his voice shaking. Fine, I'll do it, I'll back off, just don't release those files. I want it in writing. A signed statement dissolving the partnership. An order to the park organization to leave Zara alone. Everything documented. You'll have it by tomorrow. Tonight, you have 2 hours. Send it to this number. Minho rattled off a number. If I don't receive it, or if anything happens to either of us, those files go public automatically. You're insane. No, I'm done playing games. Minho backed toward the door, pulling Zara with him. In the hallway, his men were waiting. A whole team. They'd been there the whole time. Clean this up, Minho ordered. Make sure Choi keeps his word. Then he pulled Zara down the corridor, out of the hotel, into a waiting car. The moment they were inside, he pulled her into his arms. Held her so tight she could barely breathe. You stupid, reckless, infuriating, his voice broke. What were you thinking? I needed to see you, with her. I needed to know if... If what? If I actually cared about you, after everything. Zara pulled back to look at him. You walked away, back there, you turned your back on me. Because if I'd helped you immediately, Choi would have known, would have seen the connection. I needed him to take you somewhere private, somewhere I could get to you without blowing everything. You were always coming for me. Of course I was coming for you. Did you really think? Minho stopped, closed his eyes. You still don't trust me. I trust you now. Do you? Zara looked at him, really looked at him, at the fear in his eyes, the exhaustion, the love he'd never actually said out loud but had just proved with every action. Yes, she said, I trust you now. Minho kissed her, desperate, relieved. We're leaving, he said against her lips. Tonight, Seoul, Korea, all of it, we're getting out. What about the operation, the park organization? I just burned it all down for you. The operation is over, but the evidence is real. I have enough to destroy them even without the infiltration. And Yuna will be fine. Her father will tell her I was using her. She'll hate me, but she'll survive. Will she be safe? Safer than if I'd gone through with the wedding and killed everyone there. Yes. Zara leaned her head against his chest, listened to his heartbeat. I'm sorry, she said, for not trusting you, for putting us both in danger, for being human, for being scared, for having every reason not to trust people. Minho tilted her chin up. You survived hell, Zara. You're allowed to have trust issues. But I almost ruined everything. You didn't ruin anything. You forced me to make a choice I should have made months ago. What choice? You or revenge, and you won, you'll always win. Now this is where Zara finally let herself believe him, finally let herself trust that maybe, just maybe, this could be real. They drove to Minho's headquarters first. He had things to grab, money, documents, passports. Where are we going? Zara asked. Anywhere you want. London, somewhere else, your choice. My mum. We'll call her from a safe location. Let her know you're alive, that you're okay. Zara's eyes filled with tears. 3 years. 3 years of her mother not knowing if she was dead or alive. Can we really do this? She asked. Just leave, start over. Yes, it won't be easy, we'll have to be careful, but yes. What about your business, your organization? I have people who can run things. Good people. They'll keep the legitimate operations going. Shut down anything connected to Choi and the park organization. Minho pulled her close again. I told you before, you're the only good thing I've ever done. Everything else, the money, the power, the revenge, it doesn't matter. Not without you. You really mean that? I just gave up 3 years of planning and made enemies of some of the most dangerous people in Seoul. Yes, I mean it. Zara laughed. It came out shaky. We're really doing this. We're really doing this. They packed quickly. Minho had go bags already prepared, always prepared for the possibility of having to run. But this time, he wasn't running from danger. He was running toward something, toward a future, with Zara. Zara stood on a beach in Portugal, small coastal town, quiet, safe. They'd been here for 3 months. Before that, they'd moved through Europe, never staying anywhere too long. But this place felt right, felt like home. Minho came up behind her, wrapped his arms around her waist. "Your mum called," he said. "She wants to know when we're visiting London." "What did you tell her?" "That we'd come next month, if you're ready." Zara leaned back against him. "I'm ready." They'd called her mother the first week after leaving Seoul. That conversation had lasted 4 hours. Crying, explanations, apologies, relief. Her mother had wanted her to come home immediately, but Zara had asked for time. Time to heal. Time to figure out who she was now. And her mother had understood. "Did you hear from your contact?" Zara asked. Min-ho had kept one line of communication open to Seoul, a trusted associate who sent updates. Choi kept his word. The park organization is disbanded. Most of the upper levels have been arrested. The files I released, anonymously, did their job. And Yuna married someone else, a politician. She's fine. Zara turned to face him. "Do you ever regret it, giving up everything?" Min-ho smiled, kissed her forehead. "Not once, not for a second. Not even when you're living in a tiny apartment instead of a penthouse. Not even then." They stood together, watching the waves, watching the sunset. "I love you," Zara said, the words she'd said before, but they meant more now, deeper. "I love you too," Min-ho replied, the words he'd never said before, but meant completely. They'd both been broken, both been trapped. But somehow they'd found each other, saved each other. And now they were free. Really, truly free. For the first time in their lives. And that's where Zara and Min-ho's story ends. Two broken people who found each other in the darkest circumstances, learned to trust despite every reason not to, and finally chose love over revenge. If you're still here, if you made it through this entire journey with them, then you're exactly the kind of person I create these stories for. So do me a favor, hit that subscribe button right now, because stories like this don't come around often. Deep, complex, emotional roller coasters that keep you hooked from beginning to end. And I've got plenty more where this came from. Drop a comment below and let me know. What was your favorite moment? When Min-ho first saved Zara, when she saw the engagement photo, when he walked away at the party, or when he burned everything down to choose her? Were you team, trust Min-ho, or team, Zara should run throughout the story? And most importantly, where are you watching from? I love knowing who's out here experiencing these stories with me. Also, what kind of story do you want next? More mafia romance, a billionaire enemies to lovers, forbidden love, dark romance? Let me know and I'll make it happen. If you enjoyed this, subscribe, like, and share this with someone who loves a good complicated love story. Trust me, they'll thank you for it. You made it to the end. You're one of the real ones, and I appreciate you more than you know. Until next time, stay safe, stay curious, and I'll see you in the next story. Now go hit that subscribe button. Seriously, do it.